So today is going to be a super exciting video for me because we are reading very popular books from Booktok and Booktube that I've heard so much about, and this has been like a while coming, if that makes sense, because the first book I've actually had it on hold at the library for at least 3 to 4 months. So I'm really excited because yesterday Magnolia Parks came in and I'm really excited to finally, hopefully, fingers crossed, understand the hype around this series. I'm a little scared though because every time I read like a super popular book, I either get the hype or I don't, and I feel bad for not getting the hype. Like I know that a lot of people have described the Magnolia Parks series as like the UK Gossip Girl, which scares me just slightly because I watched Gossip Girl back in high school, loved it. I started rewatching it again like this year because they put it back on Netflix, and the amount of problematic it is, I'm like, oh. So I'm literally just like watching it very slowly, taking everything with a grain of salt, but I kind of stopped. It was just too much for like my brain, especially like the earlier seasons. So I'm like, okay, we'll see. I started the book yesterday and there have been some questionable things that have happened that I'm like, oh, the book is an ebook and I don't have a tablet, I don't have an e-reader, I don't have an iPad, like nothing of the sorts. So when I found out I put it on hold as an ebook, I was like, darn it, because I can't read off my phone, but I realized you can use the Libby app on your laptop, so I've been doing that. We'll see what happens. I hope I understand the hype, because if I don't, I feel like I'm going to be a little sad because everyone loves this series and I want to love it too. I just don't know if I'm going to love all the questionable things that I've heard about it, but that's okay because we're going to finish it. We're going to see what happens, and I'm just excited to read the Magnolia Parks first book, I guess, and understand like the story. Can we talk about this first paragraph? Like, this is insane. It got me in my feels and it's just the first page. Like, what the heck? I'm almost done. I think I have a little less. Okay, I have 100 pages left. I'm on 105 and there are 618 pages in the book. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet, but I do fear I do not like this. I don't think I like it at all, and I know exactly why. I know people said that this is like a Gossip Girl, like the British version of Gossip Girl, and I see it. I so see it. That description is so entirely accurate to the story and the plot and what's going on. I just don't like the toxic relationships, the way that BJ treats his friends and like treats Magnolia. Also, her treatment of him is kind of, well, it is questionable. It's just like the toxicness of their whole relationship, and I don't know, I can't do it. I think that's all I can say without really spoiling the rest of the story, and I just don't think it's for me. I don't know, like, unless I read something about the second book not being like, it just feels very repetitive to me. I think that's what it is, and like I'm so invested because I'm getting mad and I'm getting worked up, which means I'm definitely invested. I just don't think I vibe with the story and the plot and everything going on. Back in the cycle of their fighting. But okay, this is something like I'm not enjoying about this book whatsoever. I'm not sure if this is like the last conflict because it's page 523 out of 618. I don't like how one of the main characters justifies his drug use. Like he copes with certain situations by using drugs, and then I don't like how he's always like, I'm using drugs because you did this to me, because you did, like, the way that like toxic way of thinking and then victimizing yourself and saying that the other person that you are hurting is making you do this to yourself. Like, it strikes a chord with me that I can't do. Like, no one can take accountability for their own actions, and it's one thing to have like complex characters in a book, but it's another thing to just have like self-sabotaging, detrimental, like immature characters who need therapy and just don't, like, I don't know, that really got me. I was like, I really don't know if I'm gonna continue with this series. Maybe one day, but I'm not loving it. I think my favorite thing about having this many tabs is trying to figure out what one matches the book. And then look how pretty that is. We are a little bit over halfway through The Wedding People, and I'm like 50-50 about this book because it was so hyped up and I was so excited to read it. So I think I'm automatically drawn to saying like, oh, I know I'm gonna like this, but I think I'm like neutral so far. I think we're getting to the point of the book where I'm like, okay, now I think I'm gonna really start liking it. But the beginning bits of it were like just meh, okay. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when I read like lit fic or contemporary fiction. It's just very hit or miss for me. So I can't really judge if it's like a 4.5 star unless I get to the very end, and then I can like make up my thoughts by then. And I think that's just very interesting, and it only happens with like contemporary or literary fiction. Is that the same thing? I don't know. I don't think I've had a video where I'm over halfway through the book and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this or I don't know if I'm gonna hate this. So those are my thoughts so far. I'm making really great progress. I'm close to being done, and it's getting really good in a way that I didn't think it would get good, because I think I'm coming to realize that a lot of this book is about like life and the little mundane moments you get in life. And there's this quote in the book that really, it made me think, it made me stop and like put the book down, and I really like just thought, because it's just like the concept of it is just so beautiful. And okay, let me read it and then you'll understand. It really was, but life is strange, always thinking that this one thing is going to make you happy, because when you get it, and then maybe you're not as happy as you imagined you would be, because every day is just still every day. Like the happiness becomes so big, you have no choice but to live inside of it until you can no longer see or feel it. And so you start to fixate on something else. You want a child, and then the child is here, and that happiness is so big, it begins to feel like nothing, and just like the air around you. And it's just, like, what? I think, like, just the concept of his happiness being so big and becoming, like, not mundane, but just something that he's so used to that it starts to feel normal, like just breathing air. I'm like, I think that concept is just really beautiful. And I don't know, this book is about like living life and like the mundane moments in life. And specifically, I think there's a scene when they're at the beach and they were surfing, and Phoebe was like, I didn't think I would be around to like experience something like this, or I didn't think like I would have moments like this ever again. And I don't know, this book really speaks to me in ways I didn't think it would, and I think that's why I'm beginning to like it so much towards the back half, because it's just her like coming to realizations on like how to live life. And I'm like, this is just, it just does something to my brain chemistry, and I don't know how else to describe it. It's literally just about living, and I wasn't expecting that from the book whatsoever. really like it, and I do have a lot of tabs in here because a lot of the quotes were just like, they spoke to me so well. I started off this book not loving it, and it really took me to like the last quarter for me to actually like appreciate it for what it was. And I think that's what threw me off a little bit, because I thought I was gonna love it from the get-go. And not that that's a bad thing, but I just think I was expecting a little bit more from the way that this was hyped up, which is completely fine. Again, that's a me issue, not a book issue. I need to find better ways to describe books instead of saying, it was good, I loved it. Because I feel like that's like my, not default, but like putting thoughts into words is just, sometimes it's hard, okay? This follows Phoebe. I love the name Phoebe. Oh my gosh. It follows Phoebe, and she goes to this super expensive fancy hotel, and just for one night, and then she's going through a lot of like really tough life situations. So she goes to this hotel, and then she befriends a bride who rented out the whole hotel for her wedding week, not even wedding weekend, wedding week. And she eventually befriends this bride and the groom, and basically both of their families and all their friends, and she forms like a super tight bond with them. And then the week kind of just ends up playing out not how she expected it. And that's all I want to say about it, because I think you should go into it blind. Check the trigger warnings if you haven't, because that's a big one in this. That's like almost the first couple chapters. So look that up. But I think it's a very good story. Not necessarily what I was expecting, but still worth the read. But can I just say, I'm 3 chapters in. Literally 3. We started this yesterday night, and I'm 58 pages in. I am very confident that I'm going to be obsessed with this series. I'm like 99.9% sure I'm going to be obsessed with this series, because right now I'm only 3 chapters in, and it's giving me like the Hunger Games vibes, but I know other people have described it as like How to Train Your Dragon but rated R. So I'm super excited. I literally, first chapter and I was hooked. I was like, this is insane. And I just proceeded to order the second book off of Book Outlet right now. Guys, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna be like hyper fixated on the series. Oh besties, I am indeed eating this up. I am obsessed, and I'm only not even a quarter of the way through. I don't know why I didn't even put this off for so long. I'm like, I have too many like series that I've started, so I can't start another one. But this, I get it. I so get it. Like, if this came out when I was in like, I think grade 7, 8 was like my Divergent era, and Hunger Games was probably a little younger, so like maybe grade 6 or 7. If this came out in that era, I think this would have been my whole personality. Like, whole personality for at least 2 to 3 years. I am obsessed with this, and I'm not even like, I don't even think about like the crazy action part yet. Like, this is just still the beginning, and it's because I just got to like the kind of end, or like the plot twist of it all happened, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, no. No, I don't like that. I'm not a fan. So like, I have this much left and I don't want to continue because I'm kind of sort of very mad. Changed my life. And I don't mean to be dramatic, because I am quite naturally a dramatic person, but when I say that this kind of just confirms why I love reading so much. It just so good. It literally gives me like all the nostalgia in the sense of Divergent, Hunger Games, and How to Train Your Dragon all in one book, which is insane. And I don't know, it hooked me from the first like 30 pages, which is insane because a lot of fantasy books, especially the first fantasy book in a series, you have to like build up, and you have to like build up the world and the characters and the creatures. No, this, Rebecca didn't give me any time. She's like, plop, there you go, have fun. Like, I wasn't even planning on picking this book up this month. I was gonna read Throne of Glass, and then I got too overwhelmed with the reading order of the series, so I decided to pick this one up because I really wanted like a solid fantasy. When I tell you that this is a solid fantasy, this is about Violet, and I don't want to say a lot at all because I really liked going into it blind, just knowing that it was about dragons. But it's about Violet, and she goes to essentially a war college, and she's with all these other people who bond with dragons. You can either be a rider, who is like, you ride on dragons. You can be in the infantry. You could be a healer, or you could be a scribe. And Violet thought she was going to be a scribe. She thought she was going to be doing like all the history work and the reading and and then her mom's like, yeah, no, you thought you're going to be a rider. So now she's a rider, and she's trying to like, this is where the Hunger Games of it all comes in. Like, other cadets and stuff can kill you because you're gonna like bring down your team and your wing, and they're like, you're too weak, you're gonna put us all in danger after we graduate when we do eventually go off to fight whatever there is out there to fight. So that like gave me the Hunger Games vibes of it, and like the trials, that gave me like Divergent. And I just, when I tell you Divergent is a series that got me into reading, so reading this and thinking of like the Divergent of it all, I was like, it like brought back so many good memories. And I don't know, I think that's why I loved it so much. And I just, like, what? I'm so excited to read Iron Flame. I'm really trying to space it out because the third book of the series, it's Onyx something, I can't remember. I want to say Onyx Rider, but I know that's not right. We'll pop it up here. But I'm looking at like Iron Flame right now, and it's like, I want to read it right now, but I can't because I want to space it out so that I read this in October. Maybe I read Iron Flame like end of November, beginning December. And then when the third book comes out at the end of January, I won't be like waiting for that long, if that makes sense. This book made me cry, which I wasn't expecting, which is kind of funny because all of the like romance contemporary fiction books that I've seen other people do, like, this made me cry, like Just for the Summer, or like any other Abby Jimenez book, Emily Henry, like, they haven't made me like violently sob. The only books that have really made me violently sob have been fantasy books, which is like kind of wild because you know, like, you don't expect to sob to a fantasy book. I sobbed to this. I sobbed to Divergent. Like, I don't know, like, the honor's been mine, like. Now we're on Acatar, and I failed and didn't record the first part of my reactions or anything listening to this book because I downloaded it on audio from my library, and I'm listening to the graphic audio version of it. And the first half I was like somewhat intrigued, but not really. I do remember though, I'm like, this is giving me big Beauty and the Beast vibes from like the beginning of it, and I just couldn't see past that. But now I have the second part done, so I guess graphic audio splits it up in two. So now I'm on the second part of the graphic audio, so the second half of the book. And it's getting like a little interesting. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. I was talking to my friend's sister, and she said that I have to get to the last part of the book for it to start getting good. So I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna try and make it to the end. We'll see. I'm already 21% of the way through the second part of the book though, so maybe that means I'm liking it. I listened to it once on my walk this morning. Like, I started it today, and I'm already 21% of the way through, which I think is pretty impressive. So I don't know. I'll keep you updated on my thoughts though. as you saw, I just finished the audiobook of Acatar. I don't really know how I feel about it. And I know everyone's like, you have to get to like the second book and then it gets good. But I'm like, I don't know. It just felt very YA fantasy to me. But that could also be because I was listening to the audiobook. And I think for me, as like personally, I think that I have to read a book in order to give it 5 stars. Every audiobook I've listened to, it's been hit or miss, and I think that's because it's audio. So I'm not sure. I put the second book on hold, also an audiobook. So I think it's supposed to come in on like Monday, and it's Friday today. So I have a little bit of time to wait. But I honestly think I would give this like a 2.5 or a 3 stars. Like it was good for what it was, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And like the level of hype that's attached to this series, I was like, that's it, that's all sort of thing. Like, I don't know, I just, don't hate me please. That's it for today's video. This video was actually filmed over the course of like a month and a bit, because I got Magnolia Parks at the beginning of September, and I just finished Acatar, and now it's the end of October. So it's been a while, but I think this has been one of my most favorite videos to film, because I found my new favorite obsession ever, which is Fourth Wing. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me, and I will see you all in the next video.